Hello, everybody. Welcome to week number 8. Can you see the finish line, everybody? Yeah, you might feel like you have to squint, like through your goggles. Um, but I guarantee you it's there. Just keep swimming. You are going to be, this is going to be behind you before you know it. So, okay, a couple of things before I get into LinkedIn and networking. Mock interviews. As I've mentioned before, mock interviews are scheduled to take place during the week of August 24th. I'm just waiting to get scheduled confirmations from a couple of our volunteer interviewers, and as soon as I get that, I will probably send out a separate email message and add their bios to Moodle, okay? Um, and the sign up sheet, I do have a sign up sheet that you just have to put your name on once their schedules become available. And I should have that out next week. And so I suggest you take some time to look at the viewer interviewer bios and decide on which one as soon as they go up. Again, I will let you know by an independent email on those. Okay. So let's just talk about smart statements for a minute. I'm going to ask you a question. Were you surprised at how hard they are to write? Okay, because they are, no doubt. But there is a reason. There is a reason why I put you through this. Articulating your results and impacts are the only way that a hiring manager can know whether you've carried out your responsibilities well and that your efforts made a difference. I guess that's the only way. If maybe they don't know you, I guess if maybe you've had a recommendation, that might be a little bit different. We'll talk about that a little bit more in networking. But let's go back. Results-based language separates you from other applicants, and that's what you want, right? It's always about your competition. Um, so yeah, smart statements, they don't come easy. Well, they don't come easy at first. You have to wrap your head around the impact or the concept of impact, impact. And instead of saying, I was responsible for this, these were my tasks, that sort of thing. You really need to be able to turn those around and put them into some kind of a story that shows how the things that you did made a difference. Okay. Um, Trust me on this, folks. Like, really, guys, mastering smart statements is going to be your biggest takeaway from the career development portion of 490. And you might hate me now, like you did when I was teaching you grammar, but you're going to thank me later. I guarantee it. So, we still have a lot to cover in the next few weeks, so please give yourself ample time to read and watch everything, beginning with the LinkedIn overview in this week's Moodle lesson. Also the LinkedIn videos from this week's readings and resources, because there's 3 of them. There's building your LinkedIn profile from the ground up, building credibility on LinkedIn, and then security on LinkedIn, because a lot of people are concerned about that these days. And so this may give you a couple of strategies in that direction. I've also added videos on networking part 1 and networking part 2. There's also another one called Get Ready to Search and Engage on LinkedIn. So let's talk about networking. How do you feel about it? Scared? Because yeah, most people do when they begin, but it's a skill, and with practice, it gets much, much easier. In fact, it becomes almost second nature. It's like a mind shift where you go from almost feeling maybe guilty about getting into people's space to changing the way you think about it, to thinking that people as your friends that you haven't met yet. And like I say in the videos, network is it's expected in business, all right? It's a natural thing of what people in business, entrepreneurs, it just happens, okay? Okay, are you surprised? Because I'm going to actually come along with another story, because this is another part about networking. It doesn't always have to be this formal thing that you do, where you're walking into a room and trying to meet as many people as possible, right? Giving out business cards and such. I had a career coaching client here, actually on the island in Sydney, who was looking for work, and it wasn't even so much she was having trouble, like looking for what she was having trouble with was getting interviews, getting her applications across, and meeting people. And so what I did is I suggested that she look for volunteer opportunities, and she ended up working for the food bank in Sydney, and going a little bit further to really start trying to promote the food bank. It was actually something that she was passionate. It was a passion project anyhow. So whenever she had the chance, she would represent them at, like, Chamber of Commerce and BIA events. And of course, like I said, her focus was always on promoting the organization and a little bit of promoting herself. Um, and by that, I mean, as she got to know people, she would just mention that she was looking for work. They knew that she was doing this as a volunteer experience, and conversations usually go the way like, yeah, but what do you do? Well, I'm doing this, but I really am looking for this. And so, um, people started to notice. They noticed how committed she was, and how professional she was, and how invested she was, genuinely invested she was in helping the food bank. So a lot of those business owners became her best advocates, and they kept out an eye out for opportunities, and even mentioned her name. And it didn't happen immediately, but she wound up through those connections getting 2 job offers. And just like that. Now, here's the interesting part. The job that she accepted turned out not to be the right fit after all. But the relationships that she had made didn't disappear. She stayed connected, and over time, the people she met through the food bank helped her land what she now calls her dream job. So that's networking. And as I said, not always about collecting and giving out business cards. Sometimes it's just about putting yourself in places people can get to know you, see what you're capable of, and remember you when an opportunity comes along. And of course, it doesn't need to be the food bank. Many organizations, nonprofit and others, like look for opportunities for people to work with them. So here's another lesson. Many things, as I said, may not happen overnight, right? And that's okay. Keep putting yourself in places where people can get to know you, see what you're capable of, and then learn what you're looking for. In my client's case, those relationships didn't lead to her first job, right? As I said, over time, they eventually led her to her dream job. And as I say in the networking video, you never know who will help you until they do. So let's talk about LinkedIn now, okay? LinkedIn is a great networking tool. So I've added an article from the Muse about ways to get people to accept your LinkedIn requests, 10 ways actually, and it's a great read. Make sure you don't miss that. And last, I also included a terrific video on how to create graphics with Canva. And those are ways to kind of help you with your LinkedIn posts as well. So just in case you're not familiar with the program, you might want to take a look at that. So, alrighty, this week, similar to last week, 2 resource folders, one on LinkedIn and one on networking. The LinkedIn one has 4 documents. An on-paper sample for those of you who aren't ready to go live yet. There is a nifty, number 2 is a nifty kind of tip sheet showing you step-by-step on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. 3, there are examples of LinkedIn posts, because adding content can really stump a person sometimes, and even great communicators. So make sure that you are constantly, praising your wins and things like that publicly on LinkedIn. And then number 4, you want a recommendation for your assignment number 3 somewhere in your LinkedIn profile. So I've actually added a little template there for writing recommendations for others, but also for writing one for yourself. And yeah, you heard me right, writing one for yourself. Now, here's the thing. If someone has agreed to write a recommendation for you, it's a sure bet that they will do it if you write one for them. So, sorry, write it out for them. So not only will it focus on the areas that you really want to promote about yourself, but it's also far more likely that they'll do it quickly, if at all. And it's not because people don't want to do it. It's just that, you know what, we all get busy and it just sometimes slips people's minds. So make it as easy as possible, is what I'm saying. So let's talk about recommendations for a sec. They're a huge part of your profile. You can say all you want about yourself, but when someone else, especially someone who's got, that ethos, right? The credibility that backs you up, it carries a lot more weight. And plus the LinkedIn algorithm absolutely loves them. So even having one can make a real difference in a search. So you might be wondering, who can I reach out for a recommendation? Well, here's some suggestions. Your colleagues, your current, former, and former bosses, people in your cohort and instructors, all right? And I really suggest that you begin reaching out this week so that they'll be ready for you when I do the final critique of your profile. And of course, when I mark assignment number 3. So this week you will create your first LinkedIn draft and do one of two things. Either upload the profile directly onto LinkedIn platform, or again, for those who want to get my critique back or whatever, to go live, draft all of the necessary elements into that Word document, okay, that I talked about, that sample that's in this week's support materials folder, okay? Make sure that you do everything that's on that Word document. So if you choose option 1, uploading directly, make sure that you add your LinkedIn URL to the assignment drop box, as it's not always easy to find your profile with your name alone. And then again, just as I did with your resume and cover letter, I'll give you detailed critique to help you refine your profile. So I am going to be looking for a few things. First of all, your understanding of your intended career path, which should be loosely based on the job poster that you provided with your resume critiques. Your photograph, ensuring that it depicts how you show up at work, and one that looks inviting, i.e., like a nice smile, right? Your colorful and engaging feature section. Okay, that feature section stands right out. It's one of the first things that people see, so you make sure you want to draw people's eyes to it. Another thing that stands out right away is your branded background banner. Again, it would be great if you could tie that to your profession. But it can be as simple as the place where you live and work. I had a client who lived in San Francisco and put the Golden Gate Bridge up, and you know what, that was just fine. She did actually put what she did. She was an accountant, so as her title on that, so it all kind of still worked. Okay, so your headline, okay, that's another thing that goes beyond your job title or what you're doing right now. Please don't put communication student on there, all righty? We want to have a job title on there that says, ideally states who you help and how you help. And of course, it's tied to the industry or field that you want to work in. So for you folks, you've been through the program for the BAPC program, and you are a communications professional. So please don't hesitate to mark that, put that down as your title. And then if you can actually figure out a niche that you're actually trying to serve, who you actually work for. And the other part is what it is that you actually can do for them, okay? And increase engagement or whatever. You'll see more of that when you start doing the reading and listening to the videos. We want to also see a human-based results, human and results-based about section. And yeah, again, those SMART accomplishment statements, we want you to be able to show in that about statement some of the benefits that you have, that what you've done has impacted in a positive way, the organizations that you're working for. Again, keywords need to be sprinkled throughout the whole profile. So things in your banner, your headline, your featured sections, your experience sections, and your recommendations, and then your lists of skills. And I want to see at least one recommendation. Okay. There, I want your education to be in there. I don't want it to look like read like a resume. I want you to talk about what you do. And again, smart impacts. I also want to impress that if you do have a good GPA or made other significant contributions, that you want to add them to your headline and your about section, and again, perhaps in your education section if it fits in there. So one of the things that we really have a hard time with, I know I definitely do, is tooting our own horns. So you have to do it. If you want to get recognized, if you want people to notice you and you want to get hired, you got to learn how to be a little bit self-promoting, okay? One thing too, I also want to see that you shortened your LinkedIn URL. In other words, just get rid of the long string of numbers that LinkedIn assigns you when you sign up, okay? And there are instructions to show you on how to do that when you get to my LinkedIn videos. Last, I want to see some activity. All right. And that is even if it's a like on someone's post, that's okay. Like a B minus perhaps, but better still, if you can comment on something, and, relating it back to, your own point of view. Perfect. And wow, if you can actually post some original content. And right, LinkedIn is a social platform, so you want to make sure that it is written in first person, and those again go to your experience sections as well. So folks, I think that's yeah, that's it for this week. Another big week, right? But you've got this. So I will see you on Wednesday. I hope. Just reach out if you have any questions. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.